Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is Sockbot, and today I'm going to be talking about this guy right here. So I spent the last month or so preparing, ordering, and then using those parts to modify a Game Boy Advance with a new shell, a new screen, new buttons, a rechargeable battery, and a couple other things that I just kind of added on to it. But I'm going to be talking about all that today, so if that's something that you're interested in, well, stick around and feel free to like and subscribe if you want to, because I will be doing more than one of these. I actually already have the parts for modding a Game Boy Advance SP, which I will kind of tease towards the end of this video. But yeah, I'm going to be unboxing all the stuff that I got to make this and kind of taking you from beginning to end in the process for it. This is not a tutorial by any means, by the way. I'll link the ones that I used in the comments down below, or rather in the description. But this is not a tutorial. This is just showing you what my experience was with it, a little bit of why I did it, and more importantly, just a very noob's expectations and reality of making this for anybody that's considering doing it, because I have no experience soldering. This is my first time soldering anything, and honestly, most of this build, except for like one tiny thing, you don't need to solder for, so you could do this whole thing and end up with a very similar product with one exception. You just can't adjust the brightness on the screen. But yeah, let's get right into the unboxing. Final note here, I do paint my nails. They're painted right now. They're very sparkly, kind of yellow shifting to green, so if that's weird to you, okay, feel free to leave more comments. It increases engagement, so really only helping me there, but I just wanted to mention that because the last time I posted an unboxing video, all of the comments were about that, and it is also one of the reasons, I'm assuming, why that was one of the most disliked videos on my channel. So if that bothers you, cool, alright. So yeah, this is the box and my nails. I hope you like them. If you want to see closer, let's see if that'll focus. There you go. No light though, but they're very pretty. But yes, so this is what I got. I will put the link down in the description where I got this. I looked at so many different sites, and this is the only site that had what I wanted and had all the colors that I wanted and had it all in stock except for the buttons. That part's still not here yet, but if I do receive that before this video goes live, obviously you will see that. But they just didn't have the pink buttons that I wanted to go with the green chassis that's in here. But this is the Game Boy Advance I will be modding. It's actually in really good condition. It's not the original one that I had when I was a kid. I do still have that, but it is with my parents in Pennsylvania, and I have no intention of going all the way back there during to try to actually do anything about it. I might have censored that. You know what I'm talking about. I just can't say that on YouTube because they'll demonetize me. But yes, this is the one I'm going to be working on. This is not a tutorial, but quick recommendation: if you ever want to do stuff like this, maybe don't do it to like your only version of that, because there's always a chance you're going to screw something up, especially if you're completely new to it like I am. Although I have seen that this is a very easy process. But yeah, let's get right into opening this up. But yeah, I think that's everything that we got. So let's wrap this up. I'll probably edit this a little bit more than my last unboxing because honestly, there's just so much to talk about here. And I'm a little more new with this sort of thing than I am with stuff around Little Big Planet. Here's the circuit board for the new battery. There's the new screen cover. Here's the actual IPS screen. It's very protected here. And the new battery cover, again, to have the USB-C opening. There's some screws in here and some more information, and then just the actual battery. So that's everything we got so far. And now we can get started. So I'm filming this a couple days later, but I did get the iFixit toolkit, just the $30-some one, so that I could actually have the correct tri-wing screwdriver to take this apart, to take my old Game Boy Advance apart. And unfortunately, the lovely kit that my boyfriend has, that has every other kind of screwdriver, didn't have this one. But definitely don't get the one from Home Depot. The tri-wing will be too big. I suggest this one because it's the cheapest one I was able to find with the correct screwdriver, and it has a bunch of other stuff in there too. So take
take out the 7 screws in the back of this. 6 of them are the tri-wing screws. The last one under the battery compartment is a Phillips head, and of course make sure you take out the cartridge and any batteries and battery covers before you do all of this. But then the back plate will just pop right off, and you can take out the 2 Phillips head screws from the circuit board itself that connect it to the front of the shell. And these two are a little bit confusing for some people because some cases have 3, and that's the guides that I was following. Also, they had 3, but mine only had 2. So it just depends on which system. But then you're going to remove the ribbon cable from that connects the screen to the circuit board. Be careful about this. You don't want to mess up the circuit board. That's like the really important part. But it is pretty easy to do, and you do just have to flip up 2 little holds that hold the ribbon cable in there. Again, I don't have a specific visual of this, so you'll have to follow another person's guide to actually find this if you're looking for that. But then I'm going to take the new IPS screen and I'm going to connect the circuit that it comes with to the screen itself. It's just a click, like a little plug, and it takes a little bit of force to connect them, but don't be like squeezing it with all your might because you're going to break it, and that probably means that you're not doing it right. But it does click when you do it. So then I'm going to take the adhesive that goes onto the front of the shell and that connects the screen to it, and just remove the front, place it on there, take out the center part, and then use a little section of that center part to place onto the back of the circuit that's going to then kind of flip over and connect to the back of the screen. But don't forget to place the plastic sheet that comes with the new LCD screen that says put on the back of the screen. Don't forget to stick that onto there too to prevent any shorts. But then you can just remove the front cover on this, the new IPS screen. Before you do that, you probably want to stick in those 2 little spacers that actually go around the screen to keep it in place. They're not super necessary. I believe you can just stick it using the adhesive, but they definitely help keep it in place, so it's not just the adhesive keeping it in there. I did 1 spacer, dropped the screen in, and then the 2nd spacer because the screen really does kind of fit right up against the top there. But then I flipped it over and I'm going to use my new screen protector, which this one is glass, so it was a little bit easier. Didn't bend at all, so it just kind of fell into the little cutout of the screen itself. But this is why you need this sort of shell. The screen is not going to show all the way through if you don't have a shell that's modified to kind of take advantage of the larger screen. And I highly recommend buying one as opposed to modifying one yourself because it's a pain in the butt. But now I'm just putting the different buttons back in. This was a little preemptive because I still need to solder some things. And this is the part that obviously everyone is most worried about because soldering isn't something we're really taught in most schools. But it's pretty easy. I'm not going to show exactly how I did it because I was just following someone's tutorial. That will be in the description. And I'm sure that I'm not doing it exactly the right way either. But it was easier than expected. Honestly, soldering is really just gluing with some liquid metal or metal that you heat up enough for it to be liquid. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and the way that my dad described it was probably the best, that it just can get messy. And the hardest thing for this, honestly, wasn't the soldering itself. It was me accidentally putting too much solder on the circuit board when I was doing that part. That's, again, why this isn't here. But in the end, it's just gluing, and you can always melt the solder again to retry. Eventually, it will become contaminated, so you can't do that all the time. But following that, I'm just going to fold the ribbon cable back up here. You can fold it, like, don't crease it too hard, but you can still fold it, and it's not going to screw it up too much. And then I'm going to place the foam insert that goes behind the panel and flip the circuit board back onto here, and then making sure that those little pins from earlier that will attach the ribbon cable to the circuit board are still open. You can stick that ribbon cable back in there, and then essentially you're done. If you run into any specific problems, obviously you can Google them or check many of the guides here on YouTube that will tell you about these problems, tell them that they ran into them and help you fix it. But for my 2 cents, the one thing I ran into that nobody else mentioned was those wires that connected the LCD controls to the circuit board so that you can change the brightness. Well, for one, they're not necessary. You don't need to do any soldering to do this mod, but it will default to 5 brightness. But the issue that I had with those cables was they were actually not routed anywhere in particular. I didn't really know what to do, and so they ended up between the contacts for the D-pad and the circuit board. They're by not letting me press down on the system once I turned it on. So I had to take it back apart and fix that, but once I fixed that, it worked just fine. I was able to adjust the brightness, but yeah, it's pretty easy, and honestly, I think anybody can do this, especially without the soldering. If you're nervous about that, the soldering specific, I would say look it up and just watch someone do it, because it's a lot easier than it looks. I mean, you saw me solder all 3 of those components, and all of this, including the mod itself, took less than 2 hours. That's not including all the trips I had to make to Home Depot and Best Buy, but, well, yeah, it really didn't take that long.
So in general, the process was quite easy, I want to say. There was nothing really difficult about actually putting everything together. I think the tough part of it all was like actually trusting myself to do various things, and I found that when I built my computer recently, that is truly the hardest thing when you're doing something like this for the first time, is trusting that you're not doing things wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with second guessing yourself a few times. For example, when I was putting the case together at the end, it was good that I reminded myself to pay attention to where all the buttons were and make sure to press down and not crack anything when I pressed it down. But there were a bunch of kind of mini problems that came with this that slowly built my confidence to be able to solve them. For example, at one point when I was putting it together, I ended up finishing just about everything minus the buttons, because that happened a week later, and I put it together and I was like, oh, finally, I'm done. And I sat back and relaxed that the brightness adjustment worked, which is the part that required soldering. Everything else was just fine. And then I tried to play a game and I realized that the down arrow on the D-pad didn't work. And it felt like it was hitting something, and immediately I panicked because I'm like, oh, I ruined it, and I must have soldered 2 things together by mistake and created a different circuit that broke the down arrow. But it was a lot simpler than that, and immediately after that panic, I realized it was a lot simpler than that, because logically, if it feels like the down button is not touching something and it's not going down as far as the other ones, and it feels like it's touching something soft, and the only thing that I've added to this is 2 cables, well, I probably didn't route those cables correctly. And so when going back into the system, I had to do this a few times because I forgot to put in the LED indicator too. I got used to taking it apart and putting it back together and really trusting myself for what parts required me to push down, how tight I could get the screws, like without worrying myself. And the more I did that, and especially when I went back to do it a week later with the new buttons, the pink buttons I added, it all kind of built my confidence to be able to do this. And I think the reason that it did that is because I was being so careful to begin with. And that's important, that you're careful with all these sorts of things. But as I went back and adjusted this one cord, and as I opened it up for the 5th time to put the LED indicator and the buttons back in, it just reminded me that it's not that tough. Now, obviously, if you want to be adding different LEDs, there's another level of skill here, and if you want to be replacing various other parts of the system that I didn't here, although I replaced pretty much everything, so not sure how much it would take, but I guess if you wanted to replace the speaker, there's more soldering involved too. In general, I was able to solve every one of the problems I ran into, even as a complete newbie to all of this, and I think that hopefully that can give some people out there that have considered this the confidence to actually go and try it. Everything that you need, you can order off of one of these websites, minus like a few simple things like a soldering kit, the screwdriver, and the electrical tape. And all of those things you can probably find at your local Best Buy, Home Depot, and or a CVS. And so, yeah, pretty much that's the long story short on all of this. It was a lot of fun. I'm really proud of it, and yeah, I think right now I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of sneak peek of a video that I hope to have coming up in the near future, assuming everything goes to plan. So what I want to show right before that is, this is the old shell of something, so you can tell, like, there's the screen. Took the buttons out too, because I was using them in the new version for a while, but let me set that down and show you what you're really here for, which is the sneak preview of next time. And I don't know how well that's going to focus or light. Might even get a little look at my SP case there, which actually comes with the shoulder buttons, I just realized. Huh, I hope that the replacement buttons also, yeah, the replacement buttons come with the shoulder buttons too. Weird. Yeah, one thing about the shell is if you want to get buttons for it, well, first of all, the shell doesn't come with any buttons, so when you buy it, make sure you also get buttons, even if they're the same color. But in addition, you have to separately buy a pack of the silicone replacements. Even if you're getting a solid shell and don't need silicone replacements for like the AB button and the D-pad, you do need silicone replacements for the start and select buttons if that's something you want to replace. As you can tell on mine, the only thing that I didn't get to replace, obviously you have like the volume rocker and the headphone jack there, but also the start and select buttons are still gray because I didn't actually get replacement silicone pads. So don't forget to order those. I did for my SP upgrade, and now I can show you a little preview of what those buttons are going to look like. And I don't want to give everything away because I've already decided, but you could tell we have a clear blue case, and now I have a choice of 2 different button colors right here, and I got both of them because they're literally $3, and oh yeah, you can tell I kind of painted my nails to match my new console. Not exactly, but pretty close. And yeah, you'll have to stay tuned for that video if you want to see which ones I decide to go with. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it's a little bit amateurish, being that I've only done this once now and I'm making a video to show my experience, but hopefully that's helpful to anybody out there that's not looking for a guide, but just looking to see if it's like possible, and it certainly is. So I'll talk to you guys in the next video. This one probably won't be coming out for a while. I still don't even have an SP. I got an old beat up one to specifically use for this in case it gets screwed up. But that's not even here yet, so it'll probably be a few weeks for that. And this video took, like I said, almost a month to make. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Again, my name is Sockbot. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.